Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Normally I would bring you my kit build on the first of the month, but my design team duties over at the Counterfeit Kit Challenge have me on what we call the mini kit. So let's go ahead and take a look at our inspiration before I build my kit and create a project. We are looking at the Farmhouse Summer Collection from Carta Bella, and as you can see here, it is definitely on the vintage side with some of the classic icons like pickup trucks and rocking chairs and windmills. We have in the pattern papers, we have some like barn houses, barn dominiums, and some of these barn door prints. I really love this collection, and in fact, I own some of it, so I will pull those things when we get to that part. But let's just take a quick peek at some of the other things. So we have lots of tags and frame embellishments. There's definitely some floral vibes going on here. If you already saw my makes video, you will know that I made my own version of a windmill and my own version of a pickup truck. And if you haven't seen that, I will leave you a link so you can check that out. We've got more tags and banners, washi tape, some dies here, the pickup truck die and the windmill die, which my makes were based on. I do like some of these words, so maybe I want to go ahead and create the word memories because I am working specifically with a set of photos I know I'm going to make a project for. And then a stamp set, and the piece of paper that I know I own. So it's this wreath paper back here that I've put in a couple of kits but haven't used, so I know it's in my stash somewhere. Speaking of which, let me go ahead and start pulling things and we'll put together a mini kit if I can keep it mini. So I have a stack of supplies pulled, and what's making this kit mini is that I'm definitely paring way down on my embellishments. And in fact, I probably won't even use all of these, specifically this package of simple stories. This probably won't get used, but I did pull it just in case. And I see like maybe a butterfly. There is a farmhouse in here and a windmill. I didn't realize I had a windmill. So maybe those things will get used. As for the papers, I definitely want to pare these down because I am making a layout. And let's go ahead and talk about the pictures while we're at it. All right, I was having trouble with my printer when I started filming, but here are all the photos that I want to use on this layout. You can tell that I have a lot of them, so I am going to have to do a specific design to get all of these to fit. All right, I do have a stack of pattern paper here, but I know I'm going to be paring this down, so this will become more mini as we go. I just wanted to share my thought process a little bit with you. So I did pull out that focal paper, at least for me, it was a focal paper because I've had this in my stash for a while. I've added it to kits before, hoping that I would find a use for it. Today is the day, so it's going in this kit for sure. And while we're talking about the papers, I want to give you a hint of what my project is going to be because I did build this kit specifically for a project, whereas more of my other kit builds are general kit building for whatever stories happen to come up. This one, I'm going to use these photos, and it is a story about the good and bad of what's happened in my garden this year. It's been a very rough garden year for me, and in fact, I'm going to use the word rough in my title. So I have a very specific use in mind for this kit. And because I'm only making one project with this kit, that is another reason why it is mini. So this is going to be my focal paper. I will have a focal photo here, which I'm going to go pose for specifically. I do need a second piece of paper to be underneath because this is going to be a structural layout with foam tape that allows room for two sliders to come in and out so I can have a comparison of the good and the bad. So in terms of the rest of the papers, what do I want to do? So in terms of the structural paper that will be under here, I will just grab another piece of cardstock that's not going to come out of this pile. I did have two other sheets of paper directly from the farmhouse collection. So this little potted plant paper, which definitely goes with my theme since I'm talking about my garden. And I also have this plaid paper. These are nice and sturdy papers, so I do like them. And these might end up becoming, let's see. Oh, that's the reverse of that one. Okay, good to know. I believe I will use this one and cut it down to be my structural pull-out elements. This one I may cut apart and use as embellishment. Okay, and then I have all of these other papers. I know I'm going to need multiple pieces of paper to become mats. I did pull out a whole bunch of things that kind of fit the theme, and then I pulled out an extra one that is just kind of that vintagey vibe, and I've been wanting to use this piece of paper. I might, let's see, I'm not going to use the back. I might cut it apart for some embellishments. I'm having a hard time if I want to cut into this one yet, so you know what? I'm just going to make a decision since I need to cut papers. I'm just going to set this one aside for now, and maybe I will use it in the future. I definitely wanted to keep some red because when I made my own embellishments, I do have my truck is in red, so I definitely want to keep a little bit of red there. Most of the photos I have are pretty neutral in terms of color. I do have one pink photo, so maybe I do want to keep a little bit of pink. I did pull out multiple florals because the original collection had lots of florals. And so these are all the things I pulled out. Let's see what other papers I would be working with. Okay, so I'm getting down to, I've got my structural paper, I've got the internal structure, I've got something maybe for embellishing or doing little pieces of, and then I've got 2 solids. Maybe I want one more solid because I have a total of 8 photos for the inside pullouts, and then I need one larger photo. So I would need one more solid piece. You know, I'm thinking I'm not going to focus on the greens because there's going to be plenty of green in my photos. So let's set those aside. And again, this one is also green, and there will be plenty of green in my photos, so no on those. So I will keep these in here because even though this one's a little more loud, it still is enough to be matting behind other things. So I've got these 4 kind of solidish papers, and this is setting my color palette tone, which actually came from this piece anyway, since I wanted kind of a, well, here's my denim-y blue look for this piece. I forgot, I put away all the teals. I've got some pink, I've got some red, and then I've got some yellow. So basically we're focusing on these 4 colors. So that is that. Now, I do not need all of these floral papers. If I were to keep one, which one do you think I should keep? Well, they should all be on camera. This one has a very different feel to it. This one brings in wood grain and brings in some of that teal. This one is a little too large of a print for what I think I'm going to be needing. This one is feeling like a little too white for me because the focal paper has plenty of white. I think I want to bring in more color otherwise. This paper has the yellow, it has the red, and it has a little bit of the blue in there, so maybe I will keep that one. What do y'all think? Which one would you keep? Leave me a comment. All right, so this is my mini kit, and I'm going to go ahead and work on the project, and I'm not going to show you the process, but I will show you the final result. Popping in with a little update, I got all of my photos trimmed down to their final size, which is 2 3/4 by 1, 2, 3 3/4. So 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. I've got matte for my main photo. I've created the 2 sliders. And I've had to be careful because when I'm going to create a bit of an opening flap here so that I can fit more inside. And when I flipped this blue paper over, it was cut aparts on the back side, which didn't make any sense. So I did go ahead and back it with the exact same paper. So now I actually have a nice sturdy flip out that I'm going to put photos on. So these are going to go here, here. Nope. Some foam adhesive there. Oh, you can see I didn't glue this one together yet, so you can see these didn't make any sense like that. I have decided which photos are going to go with which pattern paper. So the idea is, so this one says blueberries. The idea is I will have the blueberry good side and then the blueberry bad side, and then they will flip open this way once I get that glued together. And then I will have the next picture, which I've determined will be, no, that one, no, that one, not that one, this one. So I will have the good side and then the challenging side. And these are going to be attached to open with washi tape. And I'm going to do that first, and then I will glue the whole thing down to my slider so that that washi tape doesn't have to wrap around everything. I will add extra glue to the washi to make sure it is sturdy. And then once I have my sliders assembled, then you can see I've created these little notches, and my sliders will go under there and sit up here, and then the little notch can help pull the slider out. I do have these skinny foam adhesive strips, and I believe I will use 2 together. And I will put these right along. I think I'm gonna face it towards me so I can get it right up to the very edge of the paper. And I will go all the way around, and then I will create the channels for each slider. And then I'll probably put some extra support over here. So that is the structure of the layout just about done. So I'm going to keep assembling and then we'll come back. All right, another quick update. I have got the front of my layout completed, and we'll go over that a little bit more. Right now I am removing all of the adhesive from the channels I have created for my slide-in pieces to fit. And getting all of the foam tape backings off is quite the challenge. I'm trying to get this all done so that I can show you how I will line this stuff up. So this is the front side and back side of my slide ins, and without accidentally sticking them on the foam tape, you can see that they fit in between and they will slide in and out. Okay, before I make a disaster out of that, here is the back that will go on here and create a full channel for those to slide in. So I'm going to stand this piece up. I'm going to stand this piece up, and then starting in the bottom corner, I'm going to try and get these aligned in the bottom corner and along this side edge. And yes, it does look like it's off a little bit, so it's just barely touched. That means I can still remove it. So trying again, very bottom corner along the edge. Okay, I think we got it this time. I know you can't quite see that. Here we go. Make sure it's stuck very nicely in there. Okay. You can see I have the cutout notches for these to be able to slide in. So if everything has gone to plan, this one will slide in on this side. This one. There we go. That fits. There we go. That fits. And then I'm going to use more of my alphas to indicate. So what I didn't explain yet, it's still in my head. My title is Diamonds in the Rough. So I'm talking about how I had a very rough season this year in my garden, mostly because I just didn't want to be out there and I didn't water enough and things have started dying. I didn't pull enough weeds and things have gotten really overgrown. This is a section where the camellia is way back here, but we can't get to it because the hedges are overgrown, the rose bushes are overgrown. So this is the diamonds, the beauty, despite the chaos and the rough parts. So I'm going to label each of these pullouts with this is the D side for the diamonds. And you can probably hear the crinkling of my sticker sheets very well because the microphone is right there. Okay, and this is the rough side, and I know these are gonna need more glue. I already added extra glue to my title. All right, so that is the basis. Let me finish adding my photos. I'm gonna finish adding decoration because there's some flaps inside of these that I will be able to decorate, and then we'll come back for a final look. All right, and here is everything now that it is all assembled. You can see I added a few things to the front, including the embellishments that I made. Have a little house, home sweet home. I liked how the color red kind of offset the red in my title, and this red down here kind of creates a bit of a visual triangle, although my face is a little bit outside of that, but that's okay. And then I've got my pullouts functioning, and I used some of that potted paper here to add a belly band between things. And yes, these can be pulled out part way if you just kind of pull them up to there. I could have put a stopper in here, and I did think about it, but I decided not to do it in the end because I wasn't sure I would have enough space. And I did still want to see some of that plaid paper, even though I covered most of it up. But as you can see, each section has a tip out, and when you pull them both at the same time, let's go ahead and look at it like that. If you pull them both out at the same time, they tip out opposite directions so that you can open them up and see the two parts of the story that match up. And I've got a bit of decoration inside each of the tip outs. Not as much on the outside. I did include little banners because that was part of the embellishments of the kit. So I used a die to include little banners. And then again, we have the tip outs down here for these two parts of the story and a little bit of decoration on the outside. This little chipboard piece does make it a little thick and a little hard to slide back in. And especially when I've got a cat in my lap who is helping me out here today. That makes it a little thick to slide it in, but for the most part, I think it slides in pretty smoothly, and I've got lots and lots of photos covered on one layout. So that is it for this time around. I want to say thank you so much for joining me, and if you got something useful out of this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up, because that does help YouTube know that you want to see more of my content. I will be back sometime in the future because we have a camping trip coming up, and I will share a bit more artful crafting with you then. And until then, I hope you have artful crafting days.